Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so glad that you're here. We are at episode 14, and I think it is time that I get myself sorted and organize an intro to the podcast. Nikki, who was on the podcast, not the last episode, but the episode before that, actually mentioned that she had to go looking for the name of my podcast because in none of my podcast episodes did I ever mention or introduce my podcast. So I think it's time. I'm going to get myself organized and get the intro organized. So in today's episode, I really want to talk about turning resistance into momentum. It is a theme that's been going on in my business in the back end and also what I've been working on offering to my clients and my community. And it's only natural that I am also going through similar experiences in my life. So if you are heading towards a particular goal, you are excited about it and you are taking action towards it, then there is momentum behind it. And what momentum is essentially in terms of physics is that momentum is the product of mass and velocity. And if we look at it in the context of what momentum is in our lives, if we apply it to life and to business or even to our careers, what momentum is the weight of the intentions that we carry with us, that we embody, and also the aligned productivity or the actions that we take to help us get to our goal and our ambition. This last weekend, I took a break from my business. As of Thursday afternoon, close of business, I essentially shut my laptop and the door to my office and didn't even attempt to enter it until Sunday afternoon when I felt ready to face all of the things that is in the world of my business at the moment. If you have been following me for a little while, you know that I have been deep in the hustle mode, deep in the building phase of my business. And so the work is just endless. And I enjoy it so much. Like I so enjoy the process of creating, the process of building, the process of ideation, brainstorming, all of those things. I just enjoy the entire process of it. And to be honest with you, I felt exhausted. I felt exhausted in my body. I felt exhausted in my heart. I felt exhausted in my soul. And I was definitely feeling it. And for the last week or so, I have been waking up in the morning with sniffles and feeling really lethargic. And I knew that this was my body's way of getting me to pay attention to what is happening within me and to listen to my inner knowing, my intuition to tell me to slow down and recalibrate. And deep inside, I knew what I was experiencing was hustle exhaustion, or the term that my coach uses is hustle hangover. And I love that so much because it really explains the experiences that I was going through, because it is synonymous to what a hangover feels like. I was tired in my body. I was feeling so lethargic and a little bit icky inside. And my mind was foggy and I was just generally not feeling the best. And to be honest, I was quite disappointed to admit that I had come to this place because I had worked so hard to operate from a state of balance and to be very intentional with my time and energy so that I wouldn't experience hustle exhaustion or hustle hangover. But this was a necessary experience because not only was I able to slow down and to reevaluate the things that I was doing on a micro level, on a day-to-day level, I was also able to really be honest with myself about the direction that the business or my life is going. And what I realized what I needed was actually more space. And it wasn't necessarily the space to be able to do more, but it was really space in order to be more. And we're going to go deeper into this. Now, in this season of my life and my business, I am deep in the hustle mode, deep in the build mode. Now, in the hustle season that I have been in, and it is a prolonged hustle season. However, there is an end date to this hustle season. And even though there is an end date in point, it is important for us to be able to show up to hustle season, knowing how to operate sustainably. I have been in hustle mode for quite a while now, maybe a few months ongoing. And in this season, I have been on a constant cycle of giving, building, creating, but also receiving a lot of nurture, a lot of wisdom, ideas, guidance, and all that sort of thing. But this constant cycle has really made me feel the limitations of the current energetic space that I was operating from. And the space was full. My mind was full, my cup was full, my heart was full. And as much gratefulness and amazing experiences that I have been able to create during this time, I needed more space. I needed more space in the proverbial sense, and also I needed more space in the energetic sense. I was just not able to hold any more in terms of what I needed to do, what I want to do, and what I desire to have. It's kind of like when you're collecting seashells at the beach. There's only so much that you can fit in your hand before you need to grab a jar to fill it. And then as you're collecting more and more, you need a bigger jar in order to contain all of these seashells that you're collecting. These seashells represent your experiences, your wisdom, your memories, your desires, your ambition, your feelings. And of course, you discard seashells that are broken or duplicates, and these represent the things that no longer serve you in your life. But for the most part, what you collect is unique and it is a part of you. And for most parts, you tend to keep. And in order to hold all of these ambitions, desires, wisdom, experiences, memories, and all of these things, in order to hold them within you, you need to expand your being or your aura or whatever term that resonates with you. You just need a bit of expansion to create more space in order to embody the person who has all of these desires, of all of these experiences, have all of these knowledges, and to be able to utilize them in the season going forwards. And in what I've experienced in the last couple of days over the weekend is that in the more practical sense, what I needed came in the form of time, environment, and habits and rituals. In terms of the expansion of time, it is to create that spaciousness, to have the time to be able to allow everything that is in the current existence of our reality to be in harmony in the physical sense, in the mental sense, and in the energetic sense. When you are actively pursuing something, you are inevitably experiencing growth, and growth takes up space, it takes up energy. And when you're experiencing growth, it momentarily causes an interruption in the harmony and in the flow of your life and your being. And that is completely normal. And it's a completely normal experience to feel a little bit wobbly when we're stepping into a higher version of ourselves or a better version of ourselves. And very often what we need is just time to allow all of our learnings, all of our feelings, all of our experiences to really integrate into our day-to-day being. So whichever area that you're currently experiencing massive growth, it's so important to take time away from it. Because when we're so deep into the work, it is so hard for us to see the magnitude of what it is that we are a part of, or what it is that we're actually building, and to see how it can holistically fit into the life that we are creating or that we desire to create. And what needs to change or shift in order for this new normal to become the normal. And sometimes you might come to the conclusion that the new normal isn't something that you want to carry into your vision. It doesn't fit into your vision. It doesn't align with your vision. So this is a great time to reevaluate or to evaluate what rings more true to you. Is it the new normal or is it your vision? You might decide that your new normal is more true to you, which requires you to adjust your vision. Or it might be that your new normal doesn't align with your vision and the vision is more important to you. And so you might need to shift what you're currently doing in order to get to the vision that you do want to create. Whichever way you go, it's an important decision to make. There's so many businesses out there that have been created without the consideration of how it flows in and around the lives of the people who built them, and how the business actually can be the conduit to helping their lives flow in around it as well, especially if the creation of the business was to facilitate flexibility and freedom. Why some people fall out of love with their business and experience burnout in their business is because they have neglected the connection of their intuition or their inner knowing with the decisions that they make in their business. And this is especially important if the business is solely based on the person who is building the business, who is also the person who works in the business. I had to take time out to see that while I may be deep in building season in the back end of my business, I really didn't want to miss out on what I consider to be the prime time for me to be spending with my daughter. I was thriving in the building of the business and I was loving the work that I was doing. Sure, I was taking the time to meditate. I was taking the time to journal, to read, and all that. And I was spending a lot of time with my family, with my daughter. But if I was being honest, I wasn't 100% present during those times. My mind was just so preoccupied with the things that I needed to do in my business, the things that I want to do for my business, and the things that I want to create for the business. In a way, it almost felt like I wanted to be in so much control that I've lost trust in myself or in the universe to co-create this business that I dream of having. The takeaway from that was the more I felt like I needed to push, the more that I felt the shoulds coming up. I should be doing this, I should be doing that in the business, was really a sign or an invitation for me to take a breath and take time away to really recalibrate, to reconnect to the strategy, to the intention, to the purpose, to what it is that I'm wanting to create in the vision that I desire for my business and for my life. And in terms of the expansion of environment, what I knew I needed was to feel the expansiveness and to really feel the infinite availability of space energetically and also physically. My intuition told me to go to the ocean. So on a Friday morning, I packed up Sophie, I packed up my stuff, and we headed to the beach. We live in the Southern Hemisphere and we're experiencing spring at the moment. We're just in the transition into spring, and the weather has been finicky. In pure synchronicity, Friday was the only day out of the week where the temperature hit the low 30s. It was an absolute gorgeous day for the beach. It was sunny, it was warm, the breeze was lovely, and we just had an amazing time at the beach. The next day, though, the temperature plummeted back to 16 degrees. So it was definitely there for me to experience this one day of blissful beach weather. And while we were at the beach, I was very intent of being present and really feeling into my five senses. I gazed out into the horizons of the sea and really felt into the vastness of the world. My ears heard the continuous crashing of the waves onto the beach. My hands and my feet felt the infinite granules of the sand in between my fingers and my toes. My nose smelled the invisible saltiness of the air, and I tasted the sweetness of doing absolutely nothing but being present in the moment. And as I was riffing out on that, I got goosebumps. From that one morning at the beach, it unlocked a core memory from some years in the past. Like a projected movie screen, images started popping up in my head from a time that I had spent with my then boyfriend, now husband, summer that we've spent in Portugal and Italy. That trip to Italy was planned, but the trip to Portugal was completely spontaneous. We were living in Ireland at the time, and we went to the local shops to do some groceries, I believe. And on the way to the grocery shop, we actually walked past a travel agent, and we thought to just go in and have a look and see what's available. And I kid you not, we walked out with an all-inclusive holiday package to Portugal, and we left maybe the weekend after. It was the classic, went to the shops for peanut butter and came home with a holiday package sort of thing. It was just divine. It was the time of our lives where, we didn't have much commitments in terms of we didn't have kids and we didn't have a mortgage to pay. And so we really made the most out of that time in our lives. And I'm really glad that we decided to do that, because what we experienced during those trips is that we were able to just be present and enjoy being in the present. We spent so much time just relaxing and chatting and just being, and we were just lounging on the beaches from one beach to another. There was no plans, there was no schedules. It was just going there for the sake of being there and enjoying a different place in the world. You know how people always say that everything happens for a reason that you might not understand now? At the time, going to Portugal and Italy was a holiday to be enjoyed. But what that memory currently is serving me is the memory or the reminder of being present. And that is exactly what I needed to be reminded of at this point in time. My desire to be present in the moment and my desire to be able to be present with my family in this moment. And it's not the constant planning for the future, constant building for the future. Sure, that happens too, but it happens in concurrent to being in the present moment, not instead of. Now, isn't this just a prime example of our intuition looking after us and guiding us to our inner knowledge or inner knowing and the wisdom that we have within us? It's incredible. Very often the environment that we keep ourselves in, especially in, say, for example, a home or a sanctuary that we created for ourselves in order for us to feel nurtured and all that, is exactly what keeps us in the familiar, when what we need is a shift in perspective or an expansion in our field of energy. A sea change, see what I did there, is what we need in order to gain that expansiveness and that spaciousness in order for us to be reminded of what it is that we really want to build in this life. When we keep ourselves in a familiar environment, very often our thought goes immediately to, what can I change in order to fit this current environment that I'm in? Instead of thinking about how can we harmoniously co-create an environment that can also hold the vision that we desire. It's like the saying, a plant can only grow to the size of their pots. So is your environment limiting you to what it is that you can experience or what it is that you desire to experience? So then came the question of, how can I create this spaciousness in my life physically? And we're not just talking about physical space, but it's also in the physical being. And this would come in the space of habits and rituals, the micro moments, how we spend our day to day, how we spend our time and energy on a daily basis. For me personally, in this particular season, I know that I need to sleep better, I need to eat better, and I need to feel better in order for me to be able to be more in the energetic sense. When you experience this level of tiredness, I guess, or this level of stuckness sometimes, or experience the urge to want to reevaluate everything, or the desire to want to make a change, one thing that I always urge my clients to look at is their habits and routines. That's the simplest and quickest place to start making changes. Chances are the habits and routines that we are currently doing in this season may no longer fit the next phase or next season that we're about to get into after this revival period to help us continue thriving in the journey that we're on. An external glow up will almost always trigger an internal glow up. So what it is that can we outwardly do? A no-brainer to start is to declutter. Get rid of things, get rid of thoughts, tasks, beliefs, junk food, clothes, habits, rituals, anything that will no longer serve you in the next season of your life. A lot of times we're very hesitant to let go of something that has served us so well in the past because it has done us so much good in the past. But even good things will run its course, and you will recognize what good thing no longer serve you or will no longer serve you in the next season of your life. And it is usually when you do it, you no longer feel the joy and expansion that you once felt while doing it. And it's okay to let them go. I'm a sacral generator in human design. And what that basically means is that I have an infinite supply of energy when it comes to doing work, especially work that lights me up. And I'm going to tell you, I did so much work. I was doing all of the things that I needed to do in order to move the needle in my business. I was doing all of the things that I needed to do as an effective mom, as a nurturing wife. And I was doing all the things that I needed to do in order to be a good leader to my team at work. And in contrast to that, in human design, I'm also a person who will gain wisdom from solitude. And in my busyness, time in true solitude eventually fell away. And so I haven't really spent a lot of time by myself to really reconnect to my intuition and to the guidance of my inner knowing. And so I needed to take a good look in everything that I've been doing on a day-to-day basis and really reevaluate what it is that I really want to do, what I desire to do, and what really brings me joy. And with that, a lot of what I was doing needed an uplift or an upgrade in terms of the energetics behind them. And one example of that is my meditation practice. I am an advocate and always will be an advocate for guided meditation. I think it's an awesome modality for anybody who wants to start tuning into the intuition. But in this next season of my life, I want to be more in tune and connected to my inner knowing and my inner voice. And in order to be able to do that, I need to eliminate the guided portion of my meditations and start meditating in silence or just to music. And this is a tough change because when you're so used to having a guide or a voice telling you what to do, you almost need to gain a deeper trust in yourself to be able to bring you through that experience that you want to go through, to guide you through the journey that you want to go through in meditation. And while it is a very new experience for me, I know that through this process, I'll be able to hear, feel, and connect more to myself. And another space that saw an upgrade was my downtime. I allowed myself some time to do a bit of mindless scrolling because I do enjoy it. I have now swapped it for reading time. I'm currently reading a book now called Light It. It was written by one of the mentors that I am in connection with. And it's an absolutely brilliant book and it speaks to my heart so much. And in pure synchronicity, this book talks about connecting your intuition to the business decisions that you make. I pre-ordered this book months ago before it even became available and it launched on Friday. The timing is so divine. You can't make this stuff up. And it came in such a great time that it was a sign for me to really reconnect to my inner knowing. You see, when stuff like this starts happening, when things starts to be in synchronicity and just almost feels like coincidence, we almost have to look at it in such a divine way to see what is the world trying to tell me? What is my intuition trying to tell me? And it is our job to really listen to it, to really take note and take that into heavy consideration of what direction we want to go next with our lives, with our decisions. And another thing that I started doing is I started being more creative. And another thing that I started doing more and more of is I started cooking more. I used to meal prep a lot because it saved me a lot of time and energy during the week. But in starting to cook a lot more new and different meals and nurturing my family through food that I make, it really reminded me how much I actually love the role of being a mother and a wife. I used to resent doing all of these menial tasks so much. Like it wasn't even too long ago when I resented doing the laundry, doing the cleaning, and all of the domestic or traditionally female tasks in the household. And I really resented doing them, not because I didn't enjoy them, because now that I've reconnected a little bit to what I really want to be and who I really want to be in this lifetime, I really do enjoy nurturing my family, taking care of my family. And the resentment really came from me not distributing my energy correctly. So, in the sense that I was spending so much time and energy at work, in my business, and in everything else, that when it came to actually doing all of these so-called menial tasks, I felt like my energy in this space wasn't being utilized productively. But in actual fact, I enjoy doing these things so much. I was just so blinded by the exhaustion. I was just so resentful of not having the energy that I wanted to have when I was doing all these things. So it was all very interesting in retrospect. An important thing to note is that I have actually been very intentional and responsible with my self-care. And if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen that I go to my self-care appointments. I go get my facial done. I go get my massages done. I get my kinesiology done, Reiki healing. In fact, I got a soul healing through Reiki just this weekend because I was feeling really flat. That's why I'm wearing my green pendant today, because that's part of the one of the energetic healings that she had recommended me. Shout out to Steph from White Space Wellbeing. She is awesome. If you're looking for a energetic healer online, she is fantastic. And I'm very intentional with having my downtime as well. But in the modern manifestation practices that I do, it's not just the act of doing all of these things. It's not just the action, but it's also the intention and the energy you show up to while doing these things and the intention behind doing all of these things. And that energy that I brought to my self-care appointments, to my energetic appointments and all of that needed an upgrade or an uplift in order for me to be who I want to be, to embody the person that I want to be in the next season of my business. These phases of temporary interruption in flow is so necessary to allow us or to force us to really look at and recognize the resistance that has slowly crept up on us as we go through life. It's kind of like riding a bike. Have you seen somebody pedaling so hard but they're not really going anywhere because they're not in the right gear? And that's because the resistance is there. It is there. We just choose not to engage with it or to recognize it so that we can use it to our advantage to actually speed up and get to where we want to go. So we actually do need resistance to help us speed things along. But in the grander scale of things, in the bigger picture, it's not just speed that we want, it's also momentum. And what momentum does for us in our journey is that the more momentum we have in the direction of the vision that we want to create, is that any distractions that come our way, they are less likely to stop us from getting to where we want to go. And the mastery of this, the mastery of being able to speed up in aligned productivity and to increase the weight of our intentions, increase the weight of our beliefs and our personal power will help us create that momentum. And the mastery of this process is going to make you unstoppable. In a future episode, I would love to expand on how it is that we can create meaningful momentum in our life, in our business. So stay tuned for that. Now, I just want to take a moment to share with you that my Momentum private coaching is now open for applications. So if you're somebody who has experienced a little bit of stagnant energy in your business or in your life, if you feel like you're running on a hamster wheel and not really getting anywhere with everything that you're doing, or you are constantly achieving things in your life, but you feel like you are not where you should be or where you thought you would be, then this container might be the perfect fit for you. If it sounds like something that you'd be interested in, send me a message on Instagram or go to the link in the show notes and we can get a conversation going. So until the next episode, take care, everyone. Bye.